Hello and welcome back to Frogboy X1 Gaming. I'm Andrew, and today we're talking about Nvidia graphics cards being pretty much garbage without DLSS. Now, I know that you're probably thinking, well, I mean, this is not a hit video. Like, trust me, this isn't a hit video. There's some things that I want to discuss that are actually rather important when it comes to the longevity of our graphics cards and how we expect these graphics cards to perform and the results that we expect to receive back from them. So if you go through and you watch like the benchmarks and stuff, you'll notice that pure rasterized performance out of the Nvidia graphics cards, out of the AMD graphics cards, out of the Intel graphics cards, the 4090 and the 7900 XT right now, 7900 XTX right now, they are pretty much 4K cards from about 40 frames up. They're about 40 frames up, and I mean that fits in pretty well with like the 4090. And I used to make this joke all the time. My 3080 was good for 4K at 30 to 80 frames a second, whereas the 4090 is good for about 40 to 90 frames a second at 4K at max settings, depending on what you're running, without upscalers or anything. But here's the thing that I don't think a lot of people understand, and this is a little bit shady on the graphics cards. If you don't understand, well, if you listen to the marketing, if you listen to the marketing and the way the reviewers and everybody are talking about these cards, you would just assume that, like, hey man, like DLSS is what pushes these cards forward. It's not that Nvidia graphics cards are garbage without DLSS. It's that the underlying tech now is heavily reliant on these upscalers to push these graphics cards even harder. And I've kind of figured that out, and it's kind of sunk in. And after having this 7900 XT for as long as I have now, and I've actually been able to utilize FSR. Before that, I was using like DLSS on the 30 series graphics cards. It kind of got me thinking. It's like, dude, we're not paying for pure rasterized power anymore. We're paying for power that can get the job done for the most part, but we're also paying that extra premium on these graphics cards for this upscaling tech. Like, take for instance, if you go out and you buy a PlayStation 5 or PS4 Pro, those systems came with like checkerboard rendering. Now they're able to utilize like TAU or whatever, like the upscaler that's going to be in Unreal Engine 5. They're able to utilize FSR, FSR2. So essentially, you're still getting your console for the $500 price. And then they're throwing in the upscalers for you. Like, you're not having to pay extra for those upscalers. You're just paying for the console price. But with the graphics cards, on the other hand, not only are we paying a higher price for the graphics card, but then we're also having to put extra money out there for the extra added tech. The reason why you can look at this, like the linear approach of both manufacturers. If you look at like the 3060 Ti and then the 4060 Ti, you can see that card, the actual die on it has been cut back, and like the bit bus and all of that stuff has been lowered. But the results of like DLSS 3, frame generation, DLSS 3.5, all of those are going to give that 4060 Ti more longevity than what you're going to get out of the 3060 Ti. And you're going to be pretty dang close to the same performance wise as the outgoing models, but they're also asking you to pay an extra added premium on top of that for all the extra features that are coming with these cards. Now, the reason why I started thinking about this the other day, actually this was yesterday's video. I was planning this for yesterday, but then Mortal Kombat 1, I spent the whole day after work playing around with that, so that I could get that reviewed. Starfield. When Starfield was announced without DLSS support, the media and everybody started coming after AMD and started coming after Bethesda. And that got me thinking. I'm like, well, gosh, man, I thought you guys believed in the Nvidia graphics cards. So it's like these games or these cards, if a game doesn't launch with DLSS, the community is mad. Like they're furious. They get upset. They're like, oh man, like nobody has faith in their Nvidia graphics card anymore without DLSS. And that there tells you just how good the marketing and PR has been for Nvidia and DLSS. When you look at like something like when you have people, you know, like Digital Foundry or, you know, some of the other guys that they kind of just be like, ooh, gosh, native resolution. And they're like, yeah, DLSS. That makes you wonder. It's like, oh my gosh, man. Like, really, dude? Like, native resolution versus DLSS. And, like, sometimes I got to scratch my head. I'm like, okay, well, what's the secret? Like, what are we really doing? Are we really being led to believe that like the future is going to be upscaling? Because that's what it is. Like, you're not even going to need graphics cards anymore. You're just going to download everything. You're not download it. You're just going to stream everything. The way things are going is you're going to end up streaming everything and thinking that like, yeah, man, I got this or that. When if you really look at it, now I watched some little thing from Digital Foundry today. They were talking about, you know, like the 7800. Oh, it was something about the 7800 XT and the 4070. So when Richard Ledbetter starts talking about these cards, I mean, like the 7800 XT is coming out. The first two games that they mention are games that run good on Nvidia graphics cards with ray tracing. And I mean, like what were they? Cyberpunk 2077 and another game, and they're like, right out of the gate, they're like, oh, the ray tracing performance, it's like 15% better. Knowing that like the 4070 is like 30 frames a second. Like 30 frames a second. They are trying to convince you to pay $100 more for an Nvidia graphics card that's going to give you 30 frames per second or a suboptimal experience on a game that you're going to have to utilize frame gen when your frame rate's already under 60. Like, you're already under 60 at 1440p with that. So you're already under 60. Now they want you to turn on frame gen just so you can get over 60 FPS, but then you're going to get that latency that comes in frame gen. I haven't had a chance or the opportunity to try frame gen yet. I'm really looking forward to trying that on the AMD graphics cards so that I can see just how it works and see how it performs or whatever. But as it sits right now, guys, I'm not against this upscaling technology, but I am kind of I am kind of against, you know, the whole coming down on AMD for price wise and stuff. Especially, like, I mean, because in that little talk, they're like, oh yeah, we were with AMD, and they're like, guess how much the 7800 XT is going to launch for? And he's like, $499. And I'm like, really, dude? I'm like, no, dude. And then they're always like, yeah, and then we got the elephant in the room with the 7700 XT being $50 cheaper. Honestly, I think AMD should have came out at $549 for the 7800 XT. It beats the $600 4070 like across the board. Why not charge $50 less than what the 7800 is, or the 4080 is, or 4070 is? That's the thing that it's like, these reviewers and these tech guys are always like, yeah, man, it should be cheaper. When I'm thinking, and this is me, I'm thinking like, dude, the 7800 XT is a better card overall than that 4070. You get 4 extra gigs of VRAM. You get a faster, like you get better performance across the board, except for like the two games that get like 30 frames a second in ray tracing, and the other one is like 15 frames. You're for AMD to be like, yeah, we're going to go ahead and sell it for $499. No, AMD needs to stand their ground, man. I've had this AMD 7900 XT, and I'm absolutely happy with it. Why shouldn't they stand their ground? Tell them, no, man, we're 550. 550 is what we're putting the card at. If you don't like it, go buy an Nvidia card. Go buy an Nvidia card. See how far that gets you. You're going to waste more money continuing to buy Nvidia products than you would if you would have just bought that, because that 7800 XT is going to last significantly longer than that 4070 card with 12 gigs. It's going to last longer. You're going to have better VRAM. You'll be able to do mod support better with that. You're going to. Sorry, guys. The family's been a little bit sick for the last couple of days. But the overall performance that you're going to get out of a 7800 XT versus what you're going to get longevity wise too for that 4070, it absolutely makes more sense for AMD to stand their ground and charge you $440 or $549 for that. Plus, they're giving you a free copy, $100 copy of Starfield at launch. If you purchase that, yeah, stand their ground, $550 for that card, and keep the 7700 at $450 because that outperforms the 4060. AMD, I feel like this is what they do. I'm gonna say, since I've had the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5, that I've been pretty impressed with RDNA. RDNA technology is pretty good. I bought this 7900 XT, and this card is great. It's awesome. It does pretty much every single thing that I want it to do, and it does it really well. So when I think about that, and then I think about, like the overall nickel and diamond, Nvidia and what you get out of that, it doesn't make any sense to me to ever go out of my way to like. I look at Nvidia more now with caution. Now, there are things that Nvidia can do better. Obviously, you're going to be like, if you're doing like work stuff or whatever, so some of that stuff that you can do with Nvidia CUDA cores or whatever. But for the average gamer, man, you're not going to need any of that stuff. So why pay a premium for something that you're not going to need? That doesn't make any sense to me. This whole brand thing, like I'm not judging anybody for going with AMD or going with Nvidia. First of all, like you're a grown adult. You pick whatever you want, but I'll tell you right now that after using both brands, I'm glad I broke away from Nvidia and gave him AMD a try, but it's not like I would never. It's not like I'm some like super fanboy that would never use Nvidia again. Like that's not what I'm saying. But like in my mind, like I have no desire or no reason to be like, yeah, I'm gonna go get me an Nvidia card. Like I used to sit here with the Nvidia cards, and I used to just remember this like overwhelming FOMO that I would get like all the time. Every time a new game would start coming out, we'd see like the specs, and I'd be like, ooh gosh. And I would just always get like this, man, maybe I should upgrade. Well, now I don't feel that anymore, because when I play these new games and they play really well, I'm like, oh man, that's awesome, dude. I'm grateful I get to play that, because I can blow the doors off these games at 1440p. But then I could turn on like FSR and play the games at 4K. And I'm like, that actually doesn't look too bad playing these games at 4K with FSR2 quality. It doesn't look as bad as like the people say it does. Now, see, I fell for that whole Nvidia, like DLSS is better than FSR. I did, because I was playing on Xbox and PlayStation 5. And I was starting to see the games coming out with FSR, and I was like, ooh boy, that looks just as bad as Checkerboard. And then I had my 3080 with my DLSS, and I was like, yeah, that looks way better. FSR is not for me. But then I got the AMD, and now I use the FSR. And I can see it with my own eyes at the quality level, whereas the other, like the consoles, are probably used on like a performance level or something. And I'm seeing quality, and I'm like, wow, this looks really dang good. And like unless you have DLSS sitting right there in front of you to like show you like the differences, I think I honestly do believe that it would be a little bit hard to point that out. So right now, I feel like AMD is still in line with like what the consoles are doing. They're selling you the product at the price, and they're not overcharging you or making you pay extra for these upscaling technologies. Like I do feel like Nvidia is absolutely nickel and diming us like hardcore. And I'm not gonna take jabs at AMD and be like, yeah, you should lower your prices so Nvidia lowers their prices, make them really compete. No, AMD, I don't feel like that's right. If AMD has to lower their prices too much, then that takes away money that they could use for R&D to develop a better platform, with AMD and their CPUs and all of that stuff. I would much rather both of these companies be... I would much rather both of these companies compete for our dollars and deliver good products instead of being like trying to be selfish and saying, yeah, man, AMD should take a hit to try to make Nvidia look bad, because Nvidia doesn't care. Their brand name is just like PlayStation. Like they have a brand name. They've got like they've got a really strong fan base and really high mind share when it comes to when it comes to their products. Like, I'm just thinking, I'm like, no, man, I think that AMD is actually freaking pretty solid. I do. Like, I don't have a problem with FSR2. There are some games obviously that are not going to implement FSR2 as good as some of the other ones, but that's on a game that's more of a developer thing and not necessarily the tech running behind it and everything. Especially after seeing Starfield running with, quality settings at 4K with FSR. Very happy with what FSR looked like for that game. Very happy. I still like playing it. Nothing's going to change my mind. I don't care if there's a little bit of flicker in the far distance. Yeah, that kind of stuff, it used to matter to me, but I'm just not like, I don't care, man. Like, I just want to play the video games. The video games are what matter more to me than most of this other stuff. But I do like what AMD's doing, and that's why I keep making these videos, is so that people can understand that, like, look, man, this guy bought AMD with his own money, and he's actually living like he's sleeping in he's sleeping in the same bed he made. I made my bed and I'm sleeping in it. I'm enjoying it. I'm getting good night's sleep too. That's the thing. I put my money where my mouth is on this channel, and I will live in that. Like, I will live in that, and I'm happy. As long as I'm happy with my product, I'm not saying that I would never turn and be like, oh man, this is a bad card. With it coming out, and like, I'm still getting pretty dang good performance with it so far with these newer games. I don't know, man. I mean, it could easily turn into a 3080 situation. It could. I mean, I'm not saying that it won't, but if you look back across the last generation, people are still comparing 6800 XT to 7800 XT and being like, no, man, that's just marginally better. That makes me happy. That means, like, when the next card comes out, I'm not gonna have like super FOMO. I probably will, because it's gonna have like, if it comes out and it has double the power what I'm getting right now, I probably will upgrade. I probably will just get another AMD card. Like, I don't know. I mean, like, I spent 800, or what was it, $800 for that ROG Ally. Yeah, I mean, if it helps the channel grow and I can continue to learn and have fun with it, yeah, I'm definitely going to pick it up. So, all right, my friends, if you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. I hope you guys like this one. I'm trying to back away from like the whole being negative towards AMD or Nvidia, but I do want to be able to make good content for AMD without the Nvidia guys coming over here and being like negative all the time, because I don't want to be negative. I was pretty bitter with the 3080 thing, and after getting the 7900 XT and having it blow my mind, oh yeah, I did take it out on the Nvidia card, but we're not going to do that no more. We're going to move forward. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you later.